the tomb, and we will find it empty. And because the tomb is empty, he is alive. And because he's alive, our sins are justified. Our sins are forgiven. Our character is refined. And our love for each other has been renewed. What a blessing this is to us, that the tomb is empty and the stone has been rolled away. God could have sneaked Jesus out of that tomb without having to displace the rock, which was, by the way, guarded. And remember, there was a huge earthquake that shook everybody. He could have done that, but he wanted that rock rolled away so that we could see that not only has he risen, but he's alive. And then his encounter, I call them the two Marys, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, and then telling them to go and tell the disciples that he has risen, or that we have met him. And then you know the disciples he met. One of them was the one who said, Lord, one of them was that disciple who had such high standards in his relationship with God, but he denied him. I think there are many lessons to learn, but for me, the most important lesson is for us to love each other and to submit to the expectations that our good Lord expects us to live up to. And then this world will be a more just, a more fair world. And so that is our reading today. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you at this very special season as we look to Monday, because Friday is gone. We don't know why people call it Good Friday, but there are many interpretations, Lord. But for me, I'm excited that Sunday is coming. And you will have risen, which means you are alive. So may we continue to adhere to the teachings you left us with. May we continue to value Scripture, if for nothing else, but just to create character and order. But for me, most importantly, to trust in you and to serve as one of your kingdom builders. So that is my prayer for the whole class. I pray this through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, today people lined up and they had better be ready for today. There is Florence Machio. There is Samuel Nyabere. There is Obadiah Baizire. There is Jimmy Sanya. There is Faith Nzuki. There is Maureen Anyango Ongola. There is Josephine Kasamani, and there is Teresa Wakoli, and there are two PhD candidates. One is Desmond, and the other one, I think, is Miriam Mudoni Murade. So we will go in that order, but we will start with one of the PhD students. I found his work very interesting, so I'll also use it as one of my dummies. And then we will come to Matteo in the order that I've read. I have, just for your record, also received work from Yvonne Gaki, Taslin Otieno, Sipora Chepkemboi, Cindy Emma, Helen Gichanga, Francis Ochana, and Jen Ashubwe, and the rest, I'm looking at it, Elizabeth Muthoni, and Chris Wekesa. So I've received a substantial amount of work we're going through, and I want to plead with you to really make this what Easter is all about, sacrificing, because I'll also want to meet you tomorrow and also on Monday at the same time. I must plow through all this as we do many other things. Josephine, I can see your name up.
Thank you, Prof. I request to present tomorrow, if possible.
Yeah, that's okay. We have enough work. That's okay.
Thank you.
But I would like, before that, I would like to say something. I am still very troubled, and I hope everybody is hearing me clearly. I'm still very troubled by our introduction and background of the problem. So I want to spend a few minutes around there just to give you some sense of my feeling, and then we will continue. And I'll be injecting in with the realignments, corrections, some theory that we perhaps all need. So allow me to, first of all, share something with you. As part of where we are going.
Yeah, FaceTime.
I don't know whether, no, I'm sure you're seeing the screen. I want to share something. It's not really about literature review, that's for next week. And all these works are adapted from my book, A Functional Approach to Research Methods. But I want you to note the following, that chapter 1 will have the following sections. There'll be an introduction and background of the problem. Forget about that literature review, that's a hyperlink for me, for my notes. But introduction and background of the problem. will be in chapter 1, which is called Introduction. It's called Introduction. And I hope everybody is aware that the name of chapter 1 is Introduction. And the first item, 1.1, will be introduction and background of the problem. Introduction and background of the problem. The second section will be statement of the problem. Statement of the problem. The third will be purpose of the study. The fourth will be objectives of the study. Those of you doing quantitative or mixed methods, we shall use objectives, not research questions. So maybe some of you would want this to look like this. And you'd like this to look like this. Objective of the study or research questions. And then the ones who do objectives of the study might want to give us the research hypothesis. So you must have this picture where you're going. Yes, Josephine. You have raised your hand?
No,
I think
Prof,
that was
I
the earlier time.
Okay. Then there'll be justification of the study. Justification of the study. Then the section I want to see in your chapter 1 is significance of the study. Then scope and limitations of the study. I would want this called delimitations and limitations of the study. I quite frankly am nervous about the word scope. And there are reasons why I am nervous. But scope equal to delimitation. Scope equal to delimitation. Then under that, we shall do delimitation of the study and limitation of the study. So when I come from your significance of the study, I want to come and encounter the subsection called delimitation and limitations of the study. Then you'll cover the two sections as we did. Then there is assumptions of the study. Very important. Assumptions of the study. Then there'll be operational definition of key terms used in the study. Operational definition of key terms used in the study. And then there is theoretical framework, and there'll be conceptual framework. So normally, when I finish reading your chapter 1, I would like to see the conceptual framework. We are not going in deep in chapter 1. I know in chapter 2 is when you'll elaborate on your theoretical framework and conceptual framework. I find it very hard to fit in my logic, in my mind, for me to close chapter 1 without talking about the theoretical and conceptual framework. Because where have you gotten the variables from? The things you are operationalizing, where have they come from? But I want you as students of research to note this, that the conceptual framework actually gives you the areas, for the study. The areas for the study. So we'll notice that in packaging your literature review, I'm actually going to just tease out literature around the variables of your study. And we're going to see how to best package that. I wanted this to be very clear because we must know where we are going. I repeat, introduction and background of the problem, or introduction and background of the problem to the study. I bring that up because you are not doing a background to your thesis. You are doing a background to the problem of the study. And that gives you, delimits your boundary. So you're talking about the background of the problem. Then statement of the problem, then purpose, then objectives, then research. Allow me to digress for a minute. I don't know whether I'll find this. Just give me a minute. Because again, I'm feeling very nervous because I think we are not quite where I want us to be in this problem statements. But just a minute. This is a book under publication by Linda Crawford. Conceptual and theoretical frameworks in research. We'll use this, a lot of this document, because I am a little nervous on where we have positioned the conceptual and theoretical framework as a university over the years. It brings a lot of questions, very fundamental questions, as to the logic of our research process. But we will try to align our thinking to this. Now, the other thing I want to deal with before we start listening to the presentations, just give me a minute. I am feeling a little nervous and I want to give you a little more information on what I expect in this area. So just bear with me, I'm trying to get this thing fixed. We because I'm still seeing very interesting depictions of the background of the problem. And I just want to emphasize this. I hope you can all see this. Yeah, I hope you can all see this. All of you as researchers should consider these are the main key points that researchers should consider when developing the introduction and background of the problem. This is not an introduction to introduction. It is not an introduction to chapter 1. It is an introduction and background of the problem. So the first thing is you provide a brief history of the problem. Then, listen to this, you provide a summary, and this is too important. You provide a summary of results from the prior empirical research on the topic. That's why when I look at your chapter 1, I mean your section on introduction and background of the problem, and I don't see studies cited, already that is a weak thesis. You must provide a summary of the results from prior empirical research on the topic. Then you have to identify 3 to 5 research studies, primarily from the last 3 years, and identify the stated need or possible research gap. So you are not yet giving us the gap. You will sharpen the gap in the problem statement, but you are telling us that these are the studies that have been done, but in scanning through them, not much has been done in this area. So you will then try to very briefly identify the need for the study, and define the gap that will lead to the research problem statement. Give us a justification for the current study by using a set of arguments supported by citations. I'm not in the problem statement. I am just on the background. I'm trying to give you a guideline on how you're going to construct that background chapter. And then this is the thing I want you to note. Look at this. For a very good researcher, this is what I expect. Writing length, minimum 2 to 3 paragraphs, or approximately 1 page. So maximum, and I want you to write somewhere, maximum on this introduction chapter should not go beyond 5 pages. Not beyond 5 pages. 4 pages is the ideal. Consider that 2 or 3 paragraphs constitute a page. So I could just be telling you, write this. I could be saying, write the introduction and background of the problem. And then I in my mind, I've been troubled since yesterday and asking myself, but do these people really know what I expect in that section? So that is one very important point for you to note. So you'll have to carry those points with you. And you don't have to have all of them, but make sure that essentially you are telling us a brief history of the problem, very brief, and then a summary of the results from the prior empirical research, and then just identify 3 to 5 research studies, even 3 or 2, and tell me where you are fitting in, where you think there is some space for you to do your study. So I would like to see a much improved presentation of the introduction and background to the problem. I repeat, introduction and background of the problem in the study. That's what you're doing. The other thing that I am struggling with, and I'm coming to that in a short while, is the purpose. Maybe before the purpose, the problem statement itself. Because, and I'm going to use Desmond's work and a few others that I've gone through here. I think I need to hold you by the hand a little more into this cave called the problem statement. Because from your problem statement, I should be able to see very, very clearly the objectives for your study. So that's another area I want to spend some time on this evening. Then we will be doing justice. I hope everybody has picked these points on what I expect from when you're writing for me, the introduction and background of the problem. Na tutaimba huu wimbo paka ng'ombe zote za Wamasai zirudi nyumbani. And now, after I've gone through this work that is coming after today, if it doesn't have these bits and pieces, I'll just write one word: inadequate. Inadequate introduction and background of the problem. So you go back. Because now you know roughly what the professor is expecting from you in this regard. I don't know, Desmond, if you are online, please project.
Thank you, Prof. I'm online.
Yeah.
How many minutes do I have, Prof? 10,
You have
5?
10 minutes. 10
All right,
minutes.
so I'll quickly go through my background of the study. Then will lead me to the key topic of the day, that is the statement of the problem. So that I just give a quick background, and I'll share just now. I think I will not read word to word for the intro because of interest of time. But
Desmond, you can blow it a little, just a little.
I can
Increase
magnify, magnify, and then bold your topic. Bold your topic.
I'll do that in a minute. Let me just start so that I can not but bold. Let me bold it then. Thank you. Introduction to the background of the study. I just I didn't want to localize my study too much, because the problem of moral values, is not only in Kenya. And I wish will come probably as a delimitation. But we see the statistics in America, which is actually alarming, and every quoting Brennan 2023, there's a lot of people, adult respondents feel that morality is going south. In India, especially amongst the youth, it is even alarming. And those are two ends of the world. Now, looking at corruption, which ranks 180 countries, it's very interesting is that 2/3 of the countries fall below 50 out of 100. That is alarming in itself. That's statistics from Transparency International. And then statistics relating to law and safety in Kenya also. It is even more alarming in that the prison population, if that is an index which we can go by, has doubled, to 160,000. That tells you the decay in morality in the country. It's from the statistics from National Bureau of Statistics. Now, looking at the other element of moral decay, moral social degradation, we're talking about the level of drug abuse, and so shocking is that 1 in 6 Kenyans aged between 15 and 65 is projected to abuse at least one drug or substance. I think that's enough to give us shockwaves. I think last week, if those of us who read the newspapers, who read the dailies, even who read the headline, there was no day, there was nothing. I think every day there was something about the alcohol and drug abuse, and particularly amongst the youth, it is worrying, because this is the country of the future, and alcohol and drugs abuse destroys the young people. Now, I touch briefly on some of the causes of alcohol and drug abuse and the erosion of values. But we read even last week in the newspapers, and which is corroborated by data from National Council for Population Development 2017, that learning institutions have actually become dens of sale and consumption. It's been in the paper last week, and it's really alarming in this country. Now, let's talk about another topical issue, which again, part of social degradation, which is a real problem. We talk about bribery, and we are seeing it's been normalized in the system. People are practicing bribery unashamedly, all levels. And we ourselves class who profess Christianity, and we find that from 40% to 60%. Now, we know the consequences of corruption, and of course, one of them is the widening disparity between rich and poor. And of course, now to move ahead, of more concern is that Kenya was ranked 126th out of 180 countries, not counties, countries, in a Transparency International Survey 2023. That is you and me. That's where we live. I mean, we need to be concerned about this. It's something which we need to really look into. And according to a Kipra survey, religious organizations, which is going to be my point of study, contribute 62.2% only in the fight against corruption. What about the other 38%? This is not good enough. It should be contributing 100%. No, but not least, as I go to the close of my, is the youth. We saw a phenomenon of strikes, and again, these strikes, again, a lot of the peak of it was in 2022, where there were at least 3 strikes, at least we saw an average of 3 strikes per week. And you know, they go and come, they go and come. And it, guys, it's like an anthill which goes and comes back. So we need to be concerned about this. And some of the reasons are drug abuse. Now, a lot of has been said. There's writings on critical involvement. I mean, it's of importance of looking at the whole student, the social, spiritual, and psychological needs. And that brings us into feelings that the role of religious institution should be more prominent, according to Opalo 2021. Our current president in 2016, when he was still the VP, he actually looked at a very interesting solution, proposed his own solution, calling for mentoring and more prayers in school. We're seeing more and more of that. It's an interesting topic where we're seeing chaplains being reintroduced in school. We see from the early days of Christianity, of course, all the statistics have come up with points that are very need for a strategy to inculcate anti-corruption, ethics, and values on our students. But we see that from the early church, taught spiritual nourishment, education services, and the focus of the education system was, say, socio-economic growth of the country. Is it still so? We're seeing the church slip. We're seeing the country slipping more and more. And later on, when I look at my statement of the problem, I'll talk about Kenya being 85. Statistics are showing that more than 80% of Kenyans profess Christianity, and that is from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, which is something very worrying. So I give you a bit of background on the education front, schools front, and you know, of all this, you know, when the government has been tackling these ordinances, we find that, you know, there's very little. I mean, there's a feeling, a thought gaining traction again by Opalo 2021 that the church commands a lot of respect. Yet we are not hearing enough of the church in this whole debate. When you read the newspapers over the last few weeks, the government has a raft of measures. The government has put up a lot of, you know, anti-narcotic, other foundations. All these other laws they've put in place. But the church is not, and we know that the foundation of the church is built on church ethics, you know, and religion forms moral foundations for billions throughout the world, according to the survey. In America alone, 44% of Americans and 45% of across all nations, they believe that they say believing in God is necessary to be moral, to have good to be moral and have good moral values. So I'm just going back that we are not seeing the church, we are not hearing about the church. And that's when we look at my topic, we're talking about dysfunctionalities. There's something debilitating the church's ability to participate in the mitigation of this social vice which we are seeing. I still go back, giving a few references. Prof, I will not talk about, I will not go line by line, but that there's a feeling the church dysfunctionality undermines the church's credibility, thus contributing to social degradation and negative consequences of social wellness. I mean, this just lowers the trust people have on the church because of the dysfunctions, which we'd like to know. We're not talking about them, but we see the dysfunctions with the church, you know. And these dysfunctions manifest themselves in what we read on leadership dysfunctions, financial dysfunction, spiritual dysfunctions, structural dysfunctions, and cultural dysfunctions. All these inhibit the church's social wellness. I don't want to repeat this because the church has instituted a raft of measures and policies to manage social degradations. But the problem from statistics, it's still a problem of social, the social problem we're having still exists, social degradation. It seems to persist. And you know, according to Ken Opalo, the treatment of these dysfunctions, along with other measures, may be the way to prevent and manage social degradation. Prof, from there, I already see my variables. I already see my independent variables. That is the dysfunctional church systems. I already see them popping out. I see the social wellness. Yeah.
I don't know whether it is me. Desmond, is it me or you are not quite clear? You are on and off, and I really wanted to get your arguments. Wengine mnamuelewa vizuri?
Tunataka kumwelewa.
Breaking.
So sorry.
Breaking.
Sorry, Prof. Am I more consistent now?
There's a lot of.
Am I more consistent now, Prof?
Jaribu, endelea hapo tuone.
All right. So, you know, my main worry is that the government has instituted a lot of measures and policies to manage social degradation. The problems still seem to persist. And you know, we want to find out, we want to see the treatment of these dysfunctions along with these measures to augment these measures may be the way to prevent and manage social degradation. Now, that's my background. I already see my independent variable popping up. That is the dysfunctional church systems. I see my dependent variables. That's my dependent variable. That's social wellness. And I already see my intervening variables. That is the treatment. That is the strategies which we'll adopt and which will come out of this study. So, Prof, if you'll allow me, then I will move on. I'll stop sharing and move on to my my statement of problem.
That's not your own.
Yes, I'm on. I'm trying to. I think my system is malfunctioning, but I'm trying to just attach. Okay. My statement of problem. I think if you can all hear me, I've done a bit of what threading through. But what makes me not sleep at night, you know? This social degradation, the widespread drugs and substance abuse, you know, we are seeing corruption, which is growing to levels which, you know, there's nothing you can do in this country without seemingly, even by the Christians, without doing something or giving, you know, we've been inculcated to think corrupt, you know.
Well, Desmond, is it possible for you to magnify a little bit, magnify a bit, so we can see it clear?
Are you okay, Nianor?
Okay, that's
Can you
okay.
see me?
That's okay.
All right. So for me, for what is the problem here? We are seeing corruption, deterioration in moral values, you know, everywhere we go to, you know, with crimes, you know, we're seeing crimes increasing by 16%, prison population increasing in 2 years by 85%, you know, and you know, 1 in 6 Kenyans, this is even more worrying, you know, particularly for those of us with teenage children. the 1 in 6 Kenyans abusing at least one drug, That's 4.7 million Kenyans, That from statistics of NAGADA is very worrying. In addition, me and you, Kenya, we are ranked amongst the most corrupt countries in the world. That's 126 out of 180. And unfortunately, wherever we go, this statistics follows us over our heads. The arson attacks we're seeing in schools, our children, are they safe? Because this topic is not exactly educational, but are our children safe in boarding schools where we're seeing the level of arson attacks, I think there's a cause for alarm. And unless this trend is reversed, will we really meet our targets as per Vision 2030? It'll definitely be compromised. Our desire to be a stable middle-income country will be in jeopardy, particularly look at the corruption levels, stopping everything from happening. Now, even worrying, government has had all these strategies, It has tried to tame, I term these strategies reactionary, The alcohol and substance abuse, We have had all manner of interventions, And these don't seem to be working. We have policies and institutions. The Dangerous Drugs Act, CAP 245, the Tobacco Control Act, Alcohol Drinks and Control Act, that's the Mutudo laws, the National Alcohol and Abuse Policy. We even have the establishment of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which is there and taking our money as taxpayers. But do we ever hear about anybody going in jail for corruption? Corruption is getting worse. And then we see the National Campaign Against Drug Authority, NACADA. Is NACADA really relevant given what we have been seeing in the press over the last few weeks? In strategy. And we need a shift in strategy from prevention, that is from a young age, rather than what we are doing today, where we are mitigating, we are fighting these evils, these vices, once they have already taken root in our society. Now, inculcating and reinforcing these positive moral values definitely would boost social degradation, Pereira 2019. And we must talk about the role of religious institutions, because morals are developed from childhood. They're not plucked at the adult age, according to Opalo. We must instill good behavior from particularly amongst our students. And we need to involve the church, whose contribution has not been felt too much. We said 62.2%, but it sometimes seems less. Because even when you look at the newspapers, the church is not being talked about in this fight against corruption. So Pile 2017 thinks that the church, the church could add much more value, and the church must step up its role as a societal agent for transformation and change. Now, on the other end of it, we hear every other day that churches are plagued with dysfunctions. We hear amongst us even we are discontent with the churches, And some of these dysfunctions, which have been written about, Graham 2020 writes about leadership dysfunctions, Baker 2016 about functional dysfunctions, Rye 2016 about spiritual and moral dysfunction, Hilda 2022 writes about structural dysfunctions, and then there are social cultural dysfunctions Stetzer has written extensively about those. And there's a general feel that these dysfunctions affect the ability of churches to fulfill their purpose, and they undermine the relevance of the church and the following, and render them voiceless, just because of the impression, because of the dysfunctions which the churches have given. So the church is actually virtually voiceless, And
the time is almost up.
Strategically addressing these dysfunctionalities may definitely lead to a strong and sustainable and relevant church. which with a mission of spiritually, psychologically, and physically nourishing humankind. Now, there's a lot of previous research on financial dysfunction of the church, mainly on its impact on sustainability and the financial survival of the church. Some of these studies include factors affecting sustainability by Chigozi, Murene, and Dokuo, social and cultural factors, Teki, reliability and sustainability of sources of finance in the church, Ntui, Ntibalema, and Mugaya, leadership approaches and the impact on church growth, and so on and so on, ending in financial sustainability of church-related organization by Maudo 2016. All of these are skewed towards financial dysfunctions of churches and their impact on sustainability. But few studies have investigated dysfunctional church systems. It is not only the financial systems which are dysfunctional. Few studies have investigated the dysfunctional systems which hinder the church's ability to fulfill its role effectively in relation to social degradation and social wellness. It's a field that developing strategies to treat this dysfunction may not only give the church a voice in the fight against social degradation, but also play an active role in enhancing. So it is key that we need to understand and formulate strategies to treat this sustainable in the true meaning of the word. Now, who is the audience? First of all, we are saying that this study will provide a firm foundation for churches across denominations to evaluate their systems to mitigate their dysfunctions. That alone is a big thing in churches, looking at these dysfunctions. Secondly, with statistics that Christians constitute over 80% of the Kenyan population, a lot of the social degradation problem lies within the church. And depending on this, if this is sorted out, then the church will be able to augment the government efforts by allowing the government to diversify its strategy from reactivity to proactivity. Now, if you'll allow me for 1 minute, I was still just looking at trying to tie up my objectives of study.
Yeah, Desmond, you've taken a lot of time on that problem. You really need to cut on your time and put up your work.
I will do that, Mwalimu. I will do that. My screen is playing on my side. If you'll allow me, I will just read through my objectives of study because of time. And if you can hear me,
and
I would have liked to screen them, but
I'm suggesting Dr. Maka, can you type those objectives? There's a reason why I wanted those objectives.
Okay. Yes, Prof.
Go ahead.
I'll do that right now, Prof.
Okay.
One, to explore the role of the church in promoting positive ethical values and behavior to address social degradation.
You can repeat, I didn't hear. Explore the role of the church.
I'll do that again. To explore the role of the church in promoting positive ethical values and behavior change to address social degradation.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
To identify and analyze the various dysfunctions within church systems, key to which will be leadership dysfunctions, functional dysfunctions, spiritual or moral dysfunctions, structural dysfunctions, and social cultural dysfunctions.
You can repeat.
Identify and analyze the various dysfunctions within church systems, key to which will be leadership dysfunctions, functional dysfunctions, spiritual dysfunctions, structural dysfunctions, and social and cultural dysfunctions. Can I move on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you finished the objectives?
Yeah.
Three.
Just I didn't finish which, and then which dysfunction. I didn't finalize various dysfunctions.
Three was to examine the relationship between dysfunctional church systems, to examine the relationship between dysfunctional church systems and societal degradation, and to examine how these dysfunctions hinder the church's ability to contribute, and to examine how these dysfunctions hinder the church's ability to contribute to addressing social degradation.
All right. Caro, are you ready? I want to get into discussion with all of us. And thank you, Desmond. We'll still come back to you. Okay, we'll still come back to you. First of all, just scroll up, or that's where they start. You just started with number 1. Yeah. And I'm not talking to Desmond, I'm talking to all of us, because I'm having a struggle now. We have just talked about the introduction and background to the problem. And in that introduction and background to the problem, I expect to see you at this very early stage bringing in studies that have dealt with the issue of dysfunctional church systems, social degradation, and strategic approach, and then indicating where your study will go. So when I leave that and I come to your problem statement, and I'll be projecting the problem statement I've marked for Desmond later on, I want to see what we expect in a problem statement. And it doesn't matter which book you read. Any book you read must discuss the problem statement in relation to the gap or need. It must talk about the population you are dealing with now. Here are churches. So his unit of analysis is the church. The organization is the church. So I would like to see your unit analysis come through in your problem statement. And then discuss the importance and scope of opportunity for the problem and the importance of addressing the problem. The so what question. In other words, what is the problem? What if we don't do anything about this? What will be the consequence of that? And then where I have a problem, and Caro, can you bold 1, 2, 3 so that everybody follows me? 1, 2, 3. Is she
Prof,
there? I wish I was.
Prof, you're saying?
Huh? I want you to bold 1, 2, 3 objectives and magnify them, because I want to bring out, and this is not for Desmond, it's for all of us. Okay, blow it up. Good. So the question I'm asking, remove the highlighting. Caro, remove the highlighting. Yeah. And this is to everybody. Your objectives must be the sub-issues that I saw in your background to the problem and in the problem statement. Perhaps this is the most important thing I've said. The objectives will be addressing each of those sub-issues. So when I look at these objectives, explore the role of the church in promoting positive ethical values and behavior change to address social degradation. What is the sub-issue here? What is the sub-issue? So what is it we are going to collect data around? What are we going to collect data around? So we are not going to explore the role of the church in promoting positive ethical values, but we are going to go out there and try to establish the relationship or the influence of positive ethical values and behavior change. In fact, don't try to type anything in now. I want people to understand. What are we going to do? What are we going to collect data on? What are we going to ask? We are talking about social degradation. We are talking about dysfunctional systems. So what are we going to collect data on? We are going to collect data on ethical practices in a church that bring around social change. You are not going to, when you say explore the role of the church in promoting, what are you going to measure? You're going to measure, if I go to a church, I want to see ethical, spiritual, moral values vis-a-vis behavioral change. That's what you're going to, I mean, you're not going to get into a church and ask them, what is the role of the church? No. In fact, if you go and ask what's the role of the church, then you might not give us the contribution we expect. Yours is to go and look at, if there was something called like a curriculum or the culture of a church, how does it influence behavior change? Because we are trying to avoid social degradation. You see, you are saying identify and analyze the various dysfunctions within church systems, key to which will be leadership dysfunctions, functional dysfunctions. That's not an objective. It is not smart. So what are you going to do? What are you going to measure? What you are going to measure the efficacy of the leadership. For example, the efficacy of the leadership of the churches, as an objective. Remember, this is a leadership course. So you're going to measure the efficacy. And the question is, how do you measure efficacy? You then detail it in the interview schedule or in the questionnaire. Efficacy of leadership. If the efficacy is low, you're going to get these dysfunctions that you have listed here. You are talking about societal degradation. Number 3, if you can move that up. You're talking about societal degradation. And I want people to pay attention because this is where we are going astray in our research process, in our research minds. And we are trying to sharpen your mind as a researcher. What are you going to look for? Let me give you an example. If this book I picked on is the shortage in the nursing field, just like in Kenya, we don't have enough nurses. So why is there a shortage in the nursing field? So this study is about the shortage and the need for more nurses. So there's a huge problem with the shortage and the availability of nurses. So here, dysfunctional systems, social degradation. And ladies and gentlemen, I want smart objectives because I want to know what you're going to measure specifically. Now, I can, if I'm dealing with the shortage of nurses, I know that now in my mind, I know that the business of training nurses is the responsibility of institutions of higher education. But I know that there is a shortage in faculty. I know there's a shortage of nursing faculty, which is limiting the enrollment, education, and graduation of new nurses from institutions of higher learning. So when I go out there, my first objective is to sit around how many nurses do we have? The first, I must establish that there is a nursing shortage, and this nursing shortage leads to limiting the enrollment, the education, and graduation of nurses. So that will be area number 1. My second objective is the turnover of nurses in Kenya. We train them, they go to Britain, they go to America. And so a lot of the positions of faculty in nursing remain unfilled due to lack of qualified nursing educators. So my next issue is the high turnover of nurses. And the objective will just be as simple as that. So when the first prevailing issue is the education of new nurses, and we know why it is a problem. The next issue, of course, is the high turnover of nurses. So that will be my objective 2, to establish the turnover. Then objective 3, it is, you hear nurses saying they are very poorly paid in Kenya. So my third issue, my third objective will be around low job satisfaction due to complexities of the nursing educator role, making the retention and recruitment of qualified faculty very difficult. So do you see I have three very clear objectives around shortage of nurses in this country? It starts in the universities where we don't have adequate faculty. Then there is the high turnover for greener pastures, and then job satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Desmond, around
Prof.
these objectives that I've said, these are, after I've done the context in my problem statement, I'll be urging people that this study will be looking at this because very little has been said about it. When I come to your study now, you see, like, develop strategic approaches and recommendations for addressing dysfunctional church systems with a focus on that. That's not an objective. It is not smart. It is not telling me what you are actually going to measure. And when I look at number 4 and number 5 in statistics, if I'm going to develop strategic approaches and recommendations for addressing dysfunctional church systems, and then propose possible strategies for involving the church in collaborative efforts with what, these two are going to measure the same thing. And so you are introducing multicollinearity in statistics, and we will not get valid results. So number 4 and number 5 would match. But I'm telling everybody here, I am not talking to Desmond, I'm talking to you. Since we are now beginning to understand a problem statement, when we are in the bigger problem, which the topic is telling us, which the purpose is telling us, but we must begin to indicate our areas of interest. And that is where we are going to get our objectives from. And that's why research methodology is difficult. If you take it at surface level, you'll never understand it. So I have scrolled this up. Whoever is doing it for us, please. I have a problem. So when I'm doing my problem statement, I will increase the visibility and the manifestation of the problem. So the central problem will have to come out very strongly in my problem statement. Then I have to say, what is the consequence? And in other words, state the problem. But now I'm taking you a little deeper and telling you, just throwing citations or studies. No, you are not doing that. You are beginning to construct you are actually trying to tease out the objectives of your study when you come to what I'm calling sub-issues outside the bigger problem that you'll have stated. So some people normally ask me, where do you get research questions from? Of course, research questions come from research objectives. Research objectives are addressing the issues in the problem statement. And that's why, Desmond, I told you, when I was reading your problem statement, you went astray because you began to go into, you began to become anticipatory and telling us what you're going to get. No. So I want you to sit 1 hour, 2 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours, and give me the sharpest of objectives, but there are sub-issues coming out of the problem statement. So, Desmond, when I say if we don't do anything, this was Nyawita's work, I don't have it near yesterday. If we don't do anything, I don't know where, my table is really filled with papers all over, but his work yesterday, and I hope I find it. It's so important that I find it to drive the point home. Yeah. You see, he was talking about performance contracting, the challenges. So what is it around performance contracting? I expect in his problem statement, in the context, for him to tell me what are the issues that he sees around performance contracting. And it cannot be the global issue that performance contracting is poorly implemented in counties. It can't be. Then you won't have objectives, then you don't have a questionnaire. You won't have questionnaires. So you have to tell me what are the issues. If it is governance, talk about governance. What aspect of governance are you going to bring out? If it is implementation, you are dealing with a strategic approach. So it is very easy. And what does a strategic approach mean, entails? It entails capacity, for example, of the managers in the church entities. A strategic approach will relate to budgets, will relate to resource mobilization, will relate to programs around social issues. And as you assemble that in your context, already you are seeing your objectives coming out for your study. And you know, this topic you have will give us 3 very sharp, instructive objectives. Then we shall go and develop a questionnaire that as people answer it, they're actually helping us to address the objective in question. That is a very weak link. So as we about your problem statement, very excited. But it was not accompanied by this objective. So that's why I was anxious. I wanted to see your objectives because I didn't see them. So the question is, everybody here, from the introduction and background to the problem, you begin to take us to the point of congregation about what you want to study. When you come to the problem statement, you state the consequences, the so what, but now you begin to tell us, but in this whole big statement, these are my points of attack. These are the variables. If I manipulate them, I'll have the maximum impact. This is not a cup of tea, my friends. This is not a cup of tea. Many of us walk around and say, you know, I teach research methods or I know research. But if you don't understand these fundamentals, you are going to give us objectives that has nothing to do with your problem statement, has nothing to do with your introduction to the background, will have nothing to do around these objectives that we are going to blow up the literature, review the studies, and then we'll go to chapter 3 and we'll know what our instruments are going to measure. discussion.
Prof, you're on.
Yeah, I'm on. I'm saying discussion. I want people to tell me whether they are making sense of what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is very important. We are not going to have amorphous objectives, because that will weaken the validity of our findings. We will not be measuring what we are supposed to measure.
All right. So, okay, I think the class, you open to discussion. Students, our masters in education leadership, others, PhD students, as well as faculty, you can contribute. You lift up your hand with a hand show.
Yeah, yeah. So pick them out. Chris Wekesa, I think.
Yes, Prof. So my question is, a maximum of 4 objectives is preferred?
No, I have said that over and over again. Me, I have no problem if
Yes.
Desmond wants to have, how many are these, 5 or 6? I have no problem, but you know what we said. You're just building the scope. But when you see, like now, 4, scroll that up, somebody, for me. When I look at 4 and 5, they are measuring the same thing. And I want you to see why I'm saying that. Describe strategic approaches and recommendations for addressing dysfunctional charge system with their focus on enhancing the sustainability, relevance, and effectiveness. Then propose possible strategies for involving the church in collaborative efforts with the government and other stakeholders to mitigate social degradation and promote societal wellness, with a focus on enhancing the sustainability, relevance, and effectiveness of the church in combating social degradation. We're saying the same thing.
Right.
And you know why Desmond will not, the objectives are not sharp. That's why you want to become a researcher. That's why you want that PhD. That's why you want that master's. There must be a sharpening of your thought processes. And it only comes through punishing and punishing and punishing yourself. I don't know how to say that. Punish, 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 punish. I want you to, where are we? I'm not seeing what I want. But what do I want to do?
And as Prof is looking, I think yesterday yesterday's class, I think contribution of Prof and even Professor Mbutu is that golden rule will be 4 to 5 objectives would be very good. But if you exceed, that means you expound almost everything, including even your tools. That every objective must have a tool that is going to measure that particular, so that you can be able to see the outcome. However, commonly and generally, a lot of people, whether PhD and master students, will try to return to around 4 to 5 objectives, which are probably manageable. Otherwise, the more objectives you have, the more bulky in terms of almost all aspects of your writing.
Yeah, and I don't know how to say this, because it's not even 4 or 5 or what. It is actually your issues in the problem statement. Yeah, because every issue, when you're talking about social degradation, when you're talking about dysfunctional systems, which issues are you going to address, you in your research? Because they have already been addressed, others have been addressed, but which ones are you going to address? The ones you're going to address, that sit under your problem statement up there are the ones that will constitute your objectives. It's not a matter of, all of us should know that it's not a guessing game. It's not to come and say, I think I will have this number. No, it's not that. It isn't. I was trying to get something done, and I'm not very successful. I don't know why.
Meanwhile, anybody
Carol,
else, they can come.
Have you allowed people to share?
Yes, Prof.
How come I'm not able to share? Why am I not able to share?
I've just stopped my sharing. Yeah.
Okay, let me try to share. Okay, thank you, Desmond. This is, and remember, we are all delighted when we are taken into the era prison. So this was Desmond's work, the one he has been showing you. He brought me the problem statement, and I marked it. My comments are there. Like here, I said, this is a very strong manifestation of the problem. This one was very strong. And we all see the statistics and the citations are convincing us. And then we have seen the bigger problem. Unless this trend is reversed, Kenya's socio-economic development as envisaged in Vision 2030 will be seriously compromised, and our desire to be a stable middle-income country will be in jeopardy. Full stop. Now, this is, you have to look for sub-issues here to bring out. And so when I ended, he went on to do the context. But you see, there's a point he reached, and I told him, this was very excellent. Few studies have investigated dysfunctional church systems, which hinder the church's ability to fulfill its role effectively in relation to social degradation and social wellness. Hapo, I was a very proud mentor. And I said, excellent. You are making me really feel you have been exposed to excellence by your mentor. Very well articulated. But then he takes me into the grave of disappointment. Yeah, because he's not, now is when I expect him to start narrowing down on the issues that are going to constitute his objectives. So I said, delete, you are overdancing on the stage and disinteresting your audience. Yeah. So audience and consumerability, he didn't do it. Who will partake of the findings of your study? Because that's very important for me. By the way, this is the rationale of the study. This is the significance of the study. So when we go to write significance rationale, it is all threaded from our background, our introduction to the background of the problem, and in the statement of the problem. So this work has given me a lot of encouragement, but I'm telling you now, all of you, to remember this. This is a PDF, but remember this. Suffering. Those who have done chemistry, the crucible, where you heat things, that the noblest of dreams are nurtured. So these things will not come through. Hey, these things will not come through unless we are prepared to be heated. They will not come through. You will keep, giving us objectives that don't stand, and you will be giving us objectives that don't come from your problem statement, and you'll be giving us objectives that we can't measure. They will not measure what they're supposed to be measured. And we are not, if I did this revision on 1 or 2 candidates the whole evening and the points sank home, that's good enough. Yeah, wengine sasa tutakuwa recite a chorus. It is well, it is well with my soul.
You can open your mic.
My soul, it is well. It is well with yeah. So it doesn't matter how long we spend, but if my people catch what a problem statement is and they get to know that our objectives are born out of that, and we deliberately craft the problem those objectives are coming from, we are home and dry. Cherono, tell us. I can see you.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor, for these insights. It's really very important for us, and I think I go out a very enlightened person. But I just wanted to check something on the problem statement, which I think is the core of everything. Should researchers provide citations and all the statistics? And I'm asking this because maybe in the background, if I've provided enough statistics and also the citations, would it be okay to have limited citations and statistics in the problem statement? And as I give details of the sub variables and all that. Thank you.
Yeah, Cherono, good question. Remember what I've said. I expect about 5 citations around the study, and I expect some citations telling me where this problem, the history of the background of the problem. But you know, when I'm doing the problem statement, I am amplifying the problem, then stating the problem, come to the context, and I aggregate the studies trying to show the vacuum or the gap in those studies, which I want to fill. Now, I'm saying now here that try to disaggregate the bigger problem up there into sub-issues that you will now use as your objectives in the study. So in this gap, what are the sub-issues? So I don't know whether you know a passport photograph. A passport, you know a passport photograph, the one that goes in our passports? Cherono, do you know a passport photograph?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Yeah. So in the background chapter, in the introduction, I want to see a passport photograph. In the background, in the introduction to the problem. In the problem statement, I want to see a postcard photo of the citation. In the literature review, I want a full-blown screen. Yes. So, and that's why reading the literature is very important. So I want to see very few studies in the introduction to the background of the problem. I want to see more studies coming, like we saw in Desmond's problem statement, more studies coming. And then when we go to the literature review, we'll even have hundreds of studies coming up. And when will we meet those studies again? After chapter 3, in chapter 4, when we are doing the discussion, we'll begin to say, these are our results. They are like so-and-so's results. So we again come back to those studies. That's what is called a discussion. Wekesa? Yeah. Wekesa? Or his hand is down. Okay.
No, he already asked the question. Unless someone else has the question.
Okay. Let me just give you an example. example, and scribble these notes. Scribble these notes somewhere. Suppose we were doing research, and the central problem, how principals manage job stress. How do they manage job stress? I'm just giving that as an example. How do they manage job stress? And we know if these people are stressed, that is not the problem. That is the visibility of the problem. But we know that if these people are stressed, then the performance in their jobs go down. So how would you get your objectives around this job stress? One of my objectives would be, how do principals and administrators describe their experiences of job stress? My first objective was to establish how they describe the experiences of job stress, for example. The other issue would be, how do they coping skills for job stress? And then my third issue would be, for example, coping with work-life balance and job stress. If I do that, I have my objectives around those three areas. But what am I addressing? I am addressing principles managing job stress. So when we say managing job stress, first of all, we want to know, what do they understand by job stress? Then we want to know the coping skills. And then we want to know, how do they go about work-life balance? Have we picked everything around job stress? No, there are other researchers in this world, and many are still to be born. Yeah, that's what I want to study. That's what I want to study myself. So, Joel, Boaz, Desmond, and the Minor, this is what I am saying. So what are we saying? We know now to know that the problem here is not job stress. There's a bigger problem. So we can actually say the problem, but it is in the context that you now begin to tease out the issues that you'll engage with, and you'll structure them as your objectives of the study. I want Florence Machio to come. Machio.
Okay, Prof.
Prof. Desmond here, thank you very much, Prof.
Yes.
It is well with my soul.
That's very good.
Prof, thanks very much, because
Yeah.
incrementally we are also getting a lot of new ideas. Thank you.
And colleagues,
learning continues. Thank you.
Yeah, where we are taking you is not to get a degree. That you'll get. We are taking you to another level, and Kenya will become richer and the world will be better when you are a good researcher. Yeah. Okay. There is who is next?
I'm just opening my mic.
It's okay. Just take your time.
All right.
And we are not using Macho as a case study, but this is my teaching. So everybody.
All
yes.
Right. Just for the rest of the students, I hope you can see, but also this is the raw version of the topic that I sent to Prof, which, as you can see on your right, I've been putting comments as we learn every day. But I'm going to share it as raw as I send it, so that Prof can use it to teach us all. So the topic that I sent to Prof is the effectiveness of current child protection structures or frameworks in responding to incest, a case study of Butula constituency in Busia. Of course, I already know that is wrong, but I will continue and then I'll allow Prof to point out the issues. Then the issue here is incest is a big problem in Kenya. And I'm going fast, I won't read word by word. The reason I'm also noting that I did not do literature review. Can you hear me?
You are going on and off, but just go on. We'll pray that you don't disappear.
Okay. I pray so too. So currently the structures that we have and the legal framework.
Little bit expand so
yes.
that other people they're asking for expanding.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So currently, based on the 2022 Children's Act, it's a reviewed act of the Children's Act. The guidelines to it indicate that we as a nation should start depopulating children's homes and trying to track children back to their families. And what that presents itself is the fact that children will be taken home or to their relatives for protection, or rather to live with their relatives as opposed to homes. The reason why that is the case is because it has been said that children's homes are conduit for violations and trafficking. Now, the definition of incest within the legal framework in Kenya does not make it easier for children to be protected, as the law only pays attention when it is sexual contact that is involved. With a system that requires the survivors to produce evidence pinning the perpetrator, justice becomes a long shot for any child. The situation then means that data becomes very scarce in finding out which child has been violated in an incestuous relationship. Many countries are challenged with tackling incest. A case in point is France, that created a national campaign in 2023 for the first time in history to tackle incest. The launch that was published in a newspaper in France for the first time, incest, which has been a taboo subject, was being tackled in the larger framework of child sexual violence. The junior minister then, in 2023, in charge of child affairs, was reported by the same paper saying that she wanted a hard-hitting campaign similar to those on the prevention of road deaths. It's also the first time that the government used the word incest in a campaign, and the first time it mentioned sexual violence inside our families. So this shows that even within structures of government, just as in homes, incest is a taboo subject. Now, when you go to the problem statement, the 2010 Constitution of Kenya recognizes the right of all children to be protected from abuse, neglect, harmful cultural practices, all forms of violence, inhuman treatment and punishment, and hazardous
Carol, can
or
we mute?
exploitative labor. The Children's Act 2022 focuses and encourages family-based care through fostering, adoption, custody, maintenance, guardianship, kinship care, and kafala for the Muslim community. Adoptions involving relatives would be considerably speedier and less complicated, as a child's best interest may sometimes be to remain within the family lineage, according to the new guidelines. Further, the Act of 2022 Children's Act prioritizes family-based alternative care over institutionalizing of children in children's home. Now, the National Crime and Research Center, which is a state corporation within the Ministry of Interior, gave us a research in 2021 that looked at the causes of child abuse during the COVID-19 season. It found out that most children are defiled by people known to them. The same research documented that the pregnancies that we saw post-COVID-19 amongst teenagers were mostly perpetuated in homes, since children were home during the pandemic and not in school. While Kenya has good laws, including the Children's Act 2022, and has also signed and ratified regional instruments like the Africa Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, there are gaps still existing within the structure stipulated in the new Children's Act. These gaps do not address the issue of incest and the culture of silence that goes along with it. The systems and structures that are as they are not able to adhere to the Africa Charter and Rights of the Welfare of the Child Guidelines of 2018, which state that member countries should show prevention measures taken to protect children from all forms of abuse, and in this case, including incest. Kenya has more response structures than prevention structures besides the law. A research by UNICEF in 2019 concluded that 1 out of every 6 women and 1 out of every 13 men have experienced sexual violation as a child, with 91% of the abuse being committed by family members. I will skip on the article written in the newspaper indicating incest a silent pandemic, and then that recommended that safe spaces be provided for children within school so that they can be able to report matters that happen at home. So while the law defines incest as sex between blood relations, psychologists describe it further as a violation that covers a wider range of behavior. They may include and are not limited to physical contact with a child's mouth, genitals, or any body part aimed at sexually arousing the perpetrator. In the case of incest in Busia, statistics gathers at RIP organization, one of the leading CBOs in Busia County on matters child protection, they've recorded 572 cases of incest for the last 5 years. This year alone, 2024, between January and March, they've recorded 21 cases of incest of children between the ages of 3 to 15 years. There's a clear evidence that incest occurs at home, and that even as the Children's Act stipulates that a child's interests are best tackled within the family, incest has yet to be fully addressed within the existing structures. The Children's Act 2022 has laid down a structure that includes having the position of the Secretary Child Affairs within the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to manage child protection officers. While this is a welcome move by stakeholders because there's been a lack of coordination, there's still a gap of all these structures tackling the now taboo subject of preventing children from incest. The law advances that orphans should be absorbed in their lineage, in their family lineage, but the question is, what have we done as a society to reduce vulnerabilities of children in the homes? So the purpose of the study is therefore to advance research on current child protection structures or frameworks in responding, I should have added, to protecting children from incest and provide solutions. Prof, I'm afraid to go to the objectives because I have since refined them, but this is how they look like from what I sent to you. I will stop there so you can teach us further.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
have since changed a few things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Interesting topic. I'll just pose a few questions. The effectiveness, on your topic. By the way, how many words are those? Just out of interest. Although now we know, but I still feel I need to go back.
They're about 20, 21, but I've since changed it, 21.
Yeah. So I looked at it. And advise that suppose I wrote this topic like this: incest stroke child abuse. Suppose I change this to be incest stroke child abuse. Put a full column, existing mechanisms for protection in Kenya. And then the famous, I said incest stroke child abuse, put a full column there. Existing mechanisms for protection in Kenya. For protection in Kenya. Yeah. How many words are those?
10.
You can even that stroke, you can give it.
Actually 9.
Yeah, that stroke can be also a word if you want.
A word.
And the column. I mean, you can count it as one word. I have no problem. I'm just being cheeky. But what I'm saying is that if I said that, how different is that from what you're saying? And that can you allow us to, I know I thought you came from Mias, but I know that people are very sentimental about their homes, you know, Butula and Lucia. Can we put it in the delimitation inside chapter 1? We shall not lose it. But to make this topic, to make this topic universal, I'm just proposing what I've put there. It's just a suggestion. I had a problem with your background. And now I've given you a skeleton of what I would like to see constitute a background. Because the whole background, the first page, there are no studies for background, right? So
yes, I've even written myself notes for the same. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then problem statement. Is that start, and I don't want you to respond, is that the narrative hook? Instead, if you go somewhere where you where you talk about a research by UNICEF in 2018, then I begin to see some, that. Put that in red. I begin to see some visibility of the problem. Yes? But look at where it is coming, but I also begin to see some statistics that will constitute a very strong narrative hook for you. So I looked at the problem statement.
I think that must be your speaker, Macho.
I looked at your problem statement.
Let me mute. I am in.
And it was too long. And now we have said what it should be. And that you must give me the manifestation and visibility, the problem itself, the context. You are not just throwing studies at me. You are saying studies that have been done, but then you are now having the intellectual courage to begin to bring out your sub-issues that will constitute your objectives down the line. Are we together? So
Yes, we are.
I see you have even put there definitions of abuse and what. It doesn't constitute for a strong problem statement.
Yeah.
The purpose of the study is therefore
You are the
purpose of
fuka.
the study. Oh my God.
Guys, please mute.
Are we safe? The purpose of this study is therefore to advance research in current child protection structures frameworks in responding to incest and provide solutions. Is that the purpose? Research or to create awareness or to work towards mitigation strategies against incest? I'm just wondering. And you know why we are at this level is because we have not pinned down the sub-issues that are sitting in our problem statement. So I would be thinking here, the purpose of this study is to bring to the fore the prevalence or to enhance awareness, sensitization, etc. And then, of course, the objectives of the study, I've put many question marks, and I just said out of tune completely. They are not being born out of your problem state. Macho, this is a very interesting area for study.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, but you need to ground yourself.
And Prof, just probably to add, I don't know, colleagues, I don't think much you want to define any concept within a problem statement because concepts have already been defined during your background to the problem, you brought a lot. So defining here and also even defining it even in the end of your problem statement may lose the riddle and you might ask what is it. I think if you follow the structure and of all of us, not just Macho, all of us, if we can try to stick to, I would even try to make them from a paragraph point of view, and that my first, I say probably one paragraph or two sticks to the manifestation, the feasibility of the problem. Then that's one statement on the research problem. And then my context, maybe one or two paragraphs, and then the deficiencies, maybe one or two, and then the audience. Surely I shouldn't have more than 1.5 pages for a problem statement. And this is not where you want to define concepts, because concepts, you should have key concepts coming a little bit earlier. By the time you get here, the reader is interested enough to see the problem, because that's what they want to really understand the gist of your research.
And I want to emphasize to the class.
Thank you, Dr. Ayiro.
Yeah, I want to emphasize to the class. Sub-issues are matters that aggregate to give you the problem that is manifesting itself outwardly. So, for example, still on this thing, the purpose of the study is to investigate the issues affecting job satisfaction by nursing faculty members at Daystar University. I don't know that we have anybody who is very fast on the keyboard, because I can't do both. I'm thinking and I wanted this written down. I want to emphasize something. We must get this right.
Sorry, Prof. Anyone who can open
Who
a
is
Word
fast
document
on the
and
keyboard?
fast,
Very fast.
just you can pull down Florence, someone who can open a
Stop
Word
sharing.
document on your desktop and run it fast, or I can do it. Anyone?
I want somebody who can type very, very fast as I'm thinking on my feet. Eh? Out of 126, there must be somebody.
I can try, Prof. I'm opening my
Thank you.
laptop.
Open the Word
Thank you.
document, and then you can
Who is
share it.
that?
Helen.
Helen. There are many Helens on this earth.
Helen Gishanga.
Okay. Are you ready? Open a Word document.
Yes, I'm ready.
And the rest of us, can we have something to scribble down? This is too important. And this will help you in what I'm trying to say.
I'm ready, Prof.
You are ready, but you have not shared. Eh? I want you to share kindly.
I'm using my phone and my laptop at the same time, so it will take time.
Let me be assisted here.
Let me
Whatever.
share them.
Okay, Osanya, you want
Somebody
to?
else?
Okay, fine.
Thank
Okay.
you. Just a minute, let me get my thoughts together. Write the purpose statement. The purpose statement. Purpose statement. So under it, put a full column and enter. The purpose of this study, is to investigate. Wow, your keyboard is not moving. Yeah, is to investigate the issues affecting job satisfaction by nursing faculty at Daystar University. At Daystar University. Full stop. Interviewing and questioning nursing faculty. Interviewing and questioning nursing faculty at DU. DU is Daystar University. Provides insight into their personal experiences provides insight into their personal experiences of job satisfaction while working while working in the nurse educator role. The researcher has identified three primary objectives
Jimmy, are we there?
Has identified three primary objectives brackets as sub-issues in the problem statement, as sub-issues in the problem statement, still in brackets, as sub-issues in the problem statement, are brackets closed, as the basis for this study, as the basis for this study. Enter objective 1, enter after study, write 1, objective 1. Wow, what's happening?
He's waiting for you to give the objective.
No, I haven't seen objective 1. You know, I'm reading the screen. Objective 1. Enter. Examine the issue of job satisfaction among nursing faculty. Examine the issue of job satisfaction among nursing faculty. Objective number 2. Write objective 2. The impact of low wages on the nursing faculty. Investigate the impact of low wages on the nursing faculty. Objective 3. Objective 3. Examine the complexities of the nursing faculty role. The complexities with an X, not C. Examine the complexities of the nursing faculty role. Now, look at those objectives. I'm not going to put the one on possible mitigation. But look at those objectives. Those objectives will have to come, and I'm saying will have to come from the problem statement. So the among nursing faculty, you will have had to bring out studies that amplify that concern, But your study must tell us how different it will be from the other studies done around job satisfaction. Number two, the other sub-issue will be the impact of low wages. The impact of low wages means migration, high turnover, and unfilled positions. That must have been dealt with in the context of your problem statement. And then move up. Objective 3. The complexities of the nursing faculty role. Yes. If you become a nurse and you are a teacher, you don't earn as much as somebody who's doing 10 locums in Nairobi. There are complexities there, long hours, if you are a mother, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, your issues will be turned into objectives, and they must be smart objectives. They must be smart objectives. So, I don't know whether we are making sense or not. But I want everybody to write this as an anecdote. This is not part of what we are doing, but it's very important. And this you can quote me. Writing a book or a thesis, writing a book, now people can just write, don't have to share. Writing a book or a thesis is a horrible, exhausting struggle. Is a horrible, exhausting struggle, like of some painful illness, like a long bout of some painful illness. Full stop. One would never understand, no, one would never undertake such a thing if one were not driven on I repeat, one would never undertake such a thing if one were not driven on by some demon, whom one can neither resist nor understand. So I'm saying if one were not driven by some demon whom one can neither resist nor understand. Full stop. But the resulting pain is extremely purifying. Is extremely purifying. So what am I asking of you, the class? I hope you're seeing we are now in a very tight, dangerous corner. A very tight, dangerous corner. Those of us who have gone to Meru or huko Sacho, huko kwa mzee huko. I'm asking for commitment. So the question the point I'm posing is that I'm asking for commitment because I know commitment gives us, number one, our commitments give us our identity. Yes, our commitments give us our identity. Underline that statement. Our commitments, kujitolea kwetu, give us our identity. Full stop. They are how we introduce ourselves to strangers. Full stop. They are the subjects that make our eyes shine in conversation. They are what give our lives constancy. They are what give our lives constancy. I dare add, full stop, identity is not formed alone, full stop. Identity is always formed by joining a dyad with something else.
Please repeat that, Prof.
Identity is not formed alone. Identity is always formed by joining a dyad, D-Y-A-D. You better check it out. What does a dyad mean? A dyad with something else. Number two, our commitments give us a sense of purpose. Our commitments give us a sense of purpose. Juliet Otieno, can you read me the paragraph we have just finished? We need to be alert all the time. Rafael Opio, are you there? Francis Ochami, are you there?
Yes, Prof, I'm here, I'm following.
Can you read us that paragraph? This is serious stuff, by the way. If I don't get the necessary commitment, and this doesn't just go to my students, but also faculty. If we don't give the necessary commitment, we shall have no identity. And even this desire of having the largest ever class graduating will come to nil. Please read us. Our commitments give us our identity. I thought Ochami said he was there. Jen? Kanyari?
Can I read, Prof?
Yes, go ahead, please, Jen. Thank you.
Okay. Our commitment give us our identity. They are how we introduce ourselves to strangers. They are the subjects that make our eyes shine in conversations. They are what give our lives constancy. Identity is not formed alone.
No.
Identity.
Jen, they are what give our lives constancy and coherence.
Thank you, Prof.
Carry on.
Thank you. I can read that again. They are what give our lives constancy and coherence. Identity is not formed alone. Identity is always formed by joining a dyad with something else. And then number two, our commitment give us a sense of purpose. Thank you.
As graduate students, you should have already checked it out. What is a dyad? Nobody in the class has checked dyad?
Spelling, Prof.
Jeweled crown.
Group of two things.
A jeweled crown.
A dyad is something that consists of two elements or parts.
Group of two things.
Group of two things.
Yeah. With something else. And our something else is our master's and our PhD. So our commitments give us a sense of purpose. I want us to note this, that when you are committed, you have a sense of purpose. And this class, I want you to have a shared commitment. And really commit so as to graduate. And I want you to be willing to risk your time for one another. And this will give meaning to your lives. So I want you to write, under our commitments, give us a sense of purpose, to say, and these fierce commitments, where we are saying we must do it, will give our lives a sense of meaning. Full stop. And that's the paradox of privilege. Continue writing. And this is something we have all learned. That's the paradox of privilege, full stop. When we are all well off, When we are all well off, we chase the temporary pleasures when we are well off, we chase the temporary pleasures that actually draw us apart, full stop. We use our wealth, I'm using an illustration here, we use our wealth to buy big houses with big yards or compounds, big houses with big compounds that separate us and make us lonely. Full stop. But in crisis, we are compelled to hold closely to one another. But in crisis, we are compelled to hold closely to one another in ways that actually meet our deepest needs. Yeah. If you hold to one another, that's why I'm using a collegial approach to instruction in this area of writing the thesis, because I know you are in a crisis. And this is a crisis that has confronted every other student. That's why graduation rates at master's and PhD are horrible in the country. We are in a crisis, and since we are in a crisis, we are compelled to hold closely to one another in ways that actually meet our deepest needs. So I'm asking you to work closely together and move as one group. In the interest of time, just add that number 3, our commitments allow us to move to a higher level of freedom. Our commitments allow us to move to a higher level. I don't want you to write this, but I want you to listen to this. And by the way, I hope you know that the highest level of freedom involves restriction and restraint. I hope you know that. The highest level of freedom involves restriction and restraint. Isn't that what this society lacks? The way we behave on our roads? We are not attaining a higher level of freedom when we are on a road and there's a hitch ahead of you and everybody is trying to pass and everybody is overlapping, and then after a while we find we don't have the freedom we thought we were going to get. We are all stuck there for hours and hours. I'm saying freedom actually involves restriction and restraint. If we felt restricted and restrained like in the US or in Malaysia, traffic would be flowing easily and everybody would enjoy driving. I hope you know that you have to chain yourself to the piano and practice for the freedom to really play the piano. Yes. So you have to chain yourself in your study year after year for you if you want to have the freedom of being a researcher. You have to chain yourself to a certain set of virtues or virtuous habits so you don't become a slave to your destructive desires. Yes. So higher freedom takes restriction and restraints. So you have to chain yourself to a certain set of virtuous habits so you don't become a slave to your destructive desires, the desire for alcohol, the desire for approval, the desire to lie in bed all day, and you are served. I told you of this story when some of us men, when our wives go for a seminar, if it is a week, they'll find all your innerwears heaped in a corner, and you are bathing every day. You cannot wash them. Those are destructive desires. You don't spread the bed because she's supposed to spread the bed. So as the theologian Tim Keller puts it, real freedom is not so much the absence of restrictions as finding the right ones. So you must find the right restrictions, even intellectual restrictions that will tell you, I cannot say I'm doing a master's or a PhD if I can't write a problem statement. So you must tie yourself, chain yourself to your chair and desk until you understand how to craft smart objectives. And finally, number 4, our commitments build our moral character. Our commitments build our moral character. I wish I could say that better. And under it, just say, when you want that PhD, Cherono, or Opio, when you are deep in a commitment, write that. When you are deep in a commitment, this is under our commitments build our moral character. The distinction between altruism, when you are deep in commitment, the distinction between altruism, altruism, and selfishness begins to fade away. Yeah, when you are in deep commitment, the distinction between altruism and selfishness begins to fade away. Full stop. Continue writing. When you serve your child, it feels like you are serving a piece of yourself. When you serve your child, it feels like you are serving a piece of yourself. Full stop. That disposition to do good is what having good character is all about. Full stop. Character emerges from our commitments. Full stop. Commitments are the school for moral formation. Full stop. Yeah. So,
Again.
which one? I
The very
repeat.
last statement, just the very last one, please.
Yeah. So, but I can go through it. In this way, moral formation, maybe, no. Character emerges from our commitments, and then commitments are the school for moral formation. And you practice that yourself. And one day you'll come and tell me yes. The more I got committed, the more my character flourished. So why am I saying all this? I want to see commitment in this area. I want to see exceptional commitment, because we know what commitment does to us. Nyabera Samuel, mount your work.
Prof, if I remember, he had requested to present on Sunday because he would be traveling.
Oh, he was the one. Oh,
Maybe
okay. Okay,
you still
Jimmy Sanya.
Okay, Jimmy.
Thank you. Obadiah.
I am here, Prof.
You are there, huh? Okay, go ahead. Mount your work, and 10 minutes, tell us about it.
Is it visible?
Yeah, but just blow it up a little.
Sorry?
Magnify a little. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Okay. This is a topic that is efficacy of discipline-related education policies on trans in schools, mixed methods approach. The topic was actually refined after a review during the previous class with Prof.
Yes.
And then I suggest that I go through introduction and background just by reading very fast.
Yeah. By the
That's
way,
okay.
I know you're trying. We shall craft our abstracts after we finish chapter 5. Don't worry about abstract. We'll tell you
Yes,
how to
Prof.
read it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Introduction and background to the problem of study. Education in Kenya will be the greatest equalizer if players fully improve on equity and access to education. This can be realized to a great extent when learners are available in school when expected. It is only in a school setup where people can receive appropriate learning and support they need to enable them to thrive well in life. Truancy is one of the most prevalent forms of indiscipline among students in primary and secondary schools in Kenya, since it's associated with early and late adolescence, according to Reid Kane 203. Truancy poses significant challenges to the smooth delivery of the curriculum in schools. Reid K 203 describes truancy as skipping off, dodging, skiving, backing off, and going missing out of school. It is an unauthorized absence from school translating to disruptive behavior, defiance of authority, and disregard for school rules and regulations put in place, and ultimate missing of curriculum delivery sessions in a school setup. A survey reports truancy rates at 26.9% in Kenyan schools, according to the People's Daily newspaper, published in November 2022. This is a significant number of learners missing out on curriculum delivery in schools. It is not practical for a teaching learning process to be effective without learners in school. Typical case of absence of schools in school is the greatest undoing. Schools will always register absentee students who will take days, weeks, and months before opening schools after holiday break or pupils disappear out of school for good or reappear moments later. A unique and special version of the same is when pupils will sneak out of school without an official written permission. Other forms of indiscipline may involve learners who are in school and without the confines of the and within the confines of the learning environment and classroom, whereby discipline management mechanisms such as guidance and counseling will be a sufficient check. The guidance and counseling mechanism will be productive only for cases of indiscipline occurring in a classroom setup, since learners are available and already presented for the counseling. Truant learners miss out on both counseling and formal curriculum delivery, compounding the average adverse effects of truancy in schools. According to Nyaga, 2019, teachers interact with their students most of the time within the calendar year compared to the members of the society. This implies that they have the best opportunity to elicit the appropriate behavior through teacher interactions. This means teacher contact hours with the learners play an important role in building good behavioral traits amongst learners. And Trigger HK 2023 also revealed that counseling students is an effective measure in mitigating truancy among pupils. The Basic Education Act 2013 has empowered and emphasized on guidance and counseling in schools to curb indiscipline, inclusive of truancy. Generally, learners' availability in school can help in being redeemed from the consequences of truancy. A major issue of concern is the student who is not available in school. Despite this policy framework, truancy is still a perpetual form of indiscipline. Most of the studies have revealed the causes and factors that contribute to truancy in schools. Ganga BM 2015 explored the teacher-selected factors on truancy. MN Nyaga 2019, Minor FMP 2015 offered approaches that can be used in the management of truancy in secondary schools. Studies that point out on the efficacy of policy mechanisms meant to curb truancy in secondary schools are rare. This study will therefore explore and investigate the impact in this study will therefore explore and investigate the impact and the efficacy of the education policies that have been put in place to avert truancy in secondary schools, and further investigate the gaps that might have hindered its efficacy and implementations. The government initiatives through the Basic Education Act of 2013 and the Free and Compulsory Basic Education 203 has emphasized on the access and equity to education. The government, through the Basic Education Department, invests billions of taxpayers' money to facilitate the same. It is disappointing to have such a huge investment in capitation funds running amiss due to absentee learners. To ensure that the taxpayers' value for money is enhanced, a relevant policy framework needs to be re-evaluated to uphold and streamline people's attendance and settlement in school. A number of interventions, policies, and strategies in schools, including rules and regulations, have been executed with the aim of cutting down truancy and development of conducive learning environment in secondary schools, apart from the legislations in the Basic Education Act 2013. However, the effectiveness of these initiatives remain a subject of debate and inquiry. Prof, my scope is actually, my area of study, that is the site is actually Narok North Sub-County. On whether it is appropriate for me to introduce it, I think it is something that needs to be clarified. Okay, I continue. In Narok North Sub-County, majorly inhabited by the Maasai community, the truancy trends are significantly the same, with reports indicating a rising trend in absenteeism and disruptive behavior in schools. This is according to the County Director of Education, Narok 2023. This negatively affects education and literacy attainment in the society. A study of the Maasai community revealed that the attainment of formal education still falls considerably below the desired threshold. That's according to Lemong, IP, and et al. 2023. Truancy is therefore a hidden crisis in education, impacting negatively on equity and access efforts. This research will evaluate the efficacy of discipline-related education policies in mitigating truancy in schools. This study will provide insights into the efficacy of existing approaches and identify potential areas for improvement. Understanding the relationship between education policy and student behavior is crucial for developing evidence-based interventions that promote attendance, discipline, and academic success. Statement of the
Okay.
problem.
Yeah, leave statement of the problem. I'm going to make comments. First of all, I'm looking at your topic. I have looked at your topic, and I don't know why we have, I know we passed it, but I was just wondering, why did we allow the word discipline relators to still exist? Because efficacy of education policies on truancy obviously implies that these are the ones dealing with discipline related. So it is implied. A mixed methods approach, then I expected in your methodology, in your problem statement, to actually bring that as your gap, the methodology. So you can't put there, you can't scream that you're going to do a mixed methods approach, and then that is not your gap. That should be your gap in the problem statement. So I would like to see, and I'm very excited about that, by the way, that you are actually going to take methodology. The other studies were either quantitative or qualitative, but now this study will adapt a mixed methods approach. And for us, we no longer just talk about mixed methods approach. We want to know whether it is sequential, whether it is concurrent, whether it is embedded. That will give us later in the study. So if you amplify the method in the topic, which is very good, then that actually for me is your gap that you're going to chase in this study. I don't like People's Daily. I don't think People's Daily is an authoritative paper. Understatement of the problem. You are citing People's Daily newspaper. There are many documents that talk about schooling discipline other than that People's Daily, free newspapers in the streets of Nairobi. But you can add it there, but have some other strong authorities around truancy.
Mm-hmm.
But you also must bring out very clear these policies adhered to, implemented. The consequence, of course, will be attainment of SDGs, our national objectives of education, and the desired completion rates, and quality of education will suffer. So there are many reasons. Now, when you come to your objectives, so run to your objectives. Sanya, your objectives.
The objectives of the study. So they're there.
Yeah.
Prof. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the objectives of your study.
Actually, I amended them after the last class where we did a review.
Yeah. So look at them and ask yourself, have I captured them as issues in my problem statement, in the context? That's all I want to ask. I have no problem, but have we captured them in the context of the problem statement? Yeah.
I suppose so.
So you'll have to look at that. When you put research questions, you have objectives and research questions. You know what you're telling me? You're telling me that this is a qualitative study. It's a qualitative study. And yet we know you have already told us it's going to be a mixed method study. So I would clean out, just for now, forget about those research questions. Forget about hypothesis. We shall see where you'll go, but don't try to bring them here. And in any case, if you have 6 objectives, I expect 6 research questions. They are a mirror image. So when I looked at your research questions, I think they're slightly more. I could be wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no, there are 6. And these are 1, 2, 3, 4. So can you avoid? And by the way, I saw you use the word correlate. I don't know where that is. I don't know where that is in your objectives. But I saw in the previous, this C, examine, analyze factors, no. Yeah.
I think that was before I did the update.
Oh, you did. Yeah. So you'll have to look at them. When you have correlate, then obviously you have to. I like you are being anticipatory where we are going and the references. The area is researchable. And just now use the framework I've given you on the background and also our problem statement, particularly the context, must come out very strongly to begin to reveal issues around which we shall craft the objectives of the study. Right?
Yes, sir.
And then, do you have something examined? Go somewhere, examine. Let me look at your objectives again. Let me look at objectives.
Prof, I changed the objectives. They're different from what you
Let
have.
me look at this. Just a minute. Yeah, they are different.
Number 4.
Examine discipline-related education policy implementation and enforcement. It is almost the umbrella of your topic. I'm very nervous about that. It's almost the umbrella. It's almost like your topic. So you see number 4 and 5, you can collapse that into one objective. Think about it. Okay, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to pause.
Excuse me, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay, now on the topic, do you suggest that I delete discipline related and
yeah, let's not, yeah. Just discipline related. Just that. No. Efficacy of policies in education.
Yes.
Efficacy of education policies. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I mean. On truancy would actually imply they are discipline related, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, very good. I want us, allow me to run through something. First of all, some of you now should be able to give me some rough draft of chapter 1. Apart from significance and rationale, we have covered all the others. So apart from significance and rationale, and then conceptual and theoretical frameworks, you should be able to give me a rough draft of chapter 1. So begin to work on it, not now. We'll give you a date when you submit in your draft, because we have to plow through these others of the other students. And tomorrow, I will be doing the projection of the document so that we are able to move much, much faster. But I really have no regrets if people are picking what is required. Now, allow me to very quickly, I don't know how we'll do it, but very quickly, just introduce this, then I'll pick it up tomorrow. And I just want you to listen to this because I'm trying to free the students who are moving fast, so they're not trapped. Is everybody able to see that?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Okay. Theoretical framework and conceptual framework. This is something you need for your chapter 1. What is a theoretical framework? First of all, we normally have an idea. The idea is discussed, it is tested, it is accepted or rejected, and then it is given time to become a theory. So a theoretical framework is the blueprint or guide for research. And it is borrowed by the researcher to build your own house. In other words, if you do research and you don't have a theoretical framework, I think you are in a collapsing house. And I can, without doubt, emphasize that every study, whether it is qualitative or quantitative, you must have engaged with some theory, some research earlier on. Which a research is constructed. And Sinclair compares the role of the theoretical framework to that of a map or a travel plan. Brodizio, Leemans, and Solecki contend that it is a specific theory or theories about aspects of human endeavor that can be useful to the study of events. What is a theoretical framework? Remember, we are still under it. All aspects of the dissertation research should connect to the theoretical framework, Grant and on Law 2014. The relevant theory or theories that underpin the knowledge base of the phenomenon to be researched. And many of you to talk about phenomenon that have already been studied. So I expect that we should be able to come out with a theoretical framework. It consists of theoretical principles, constructs, concepts, and tenets of a theory, Grant and on Law 2014. And it makes a unique application of the selected theory so as to apply the theoretical constructs or of you or of your dissertation. Basically, we are saying you must read literature and come up with a theory that relates to the variables of your study. So what is the importance of the theoretical framework in research? It provides the structure to define how a researcher defines his or her study philosophically, epistemologically, methodologically, and analytically. So you can't talk about your design your research design if you don't tell me about your theoretical framework? Where did you get that design from? Design relates to methodology. You can't. Othello,
Mwambie
go ahead.
simu, nasikia mpaka hapa, jifungie bed nini kitchen.
Thanks, Prof. I was wondering, I was asking
Othello,
if it's possible for...
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I have to increase my volume. Okay, maybe something happened to my voice. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was saying that, is it possible for 2 or 3 theories to converge into your study?
Yes, but I will discourage any of you trying to be notoriously adventurous. In fact, you really have to convince me to even adapt a second theory. Let's keep it straight, simple, and clear.
Thank you. That is what was bothering me about the theoretical framework. Thank you.
It normally serves as the focus of the research study, and it is linked to the research problem under study. You can see it is going back to the research problem. It guides the researcher's choice of research design and data analysis plan. So when you are looking at a theoretical framework in an article, go to the methodology and look at the design and the data analysis plan for adoption. It provides a common world view or lens from which to support one's thinking on the problem and analysis of data. Grant and Onsano 2014. The theoretical framework guides and must resonate with every aspect of the research. Look at it. Look at the importance. Just look at it. Check there. It resolves the methodology, the presentation, and discussion of findings.
You're on mute. Prof, you're muted.
It's okay. Let's just give him time.
I was muted. I was trying to help somebody out. Yeah. So can you see? I want to emphasize the value of the theoretical framework. It is not something you pluck like a mango on a tree. The theoretical framework guides the kind of data to be collected. Lester, 2005. Simon and Goes, 2011, as well as Maxwell, 2004, have asked that theoretical frameworks deepen the essence of the study. So, Othello, don't be cranky. Don't try and bring me 3 theories. It will be too deep. You might appear in that mine. It convinces readers that the study is not based on the personal instincts of the researcher, but rather on established theory gathered via credible studies. Now I want you to absorb this for a minute.
So as we take these notes, I hope this is really all right, Prof. I think you're back.
Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
No. I was just encouraging everyone to pick up the notes and be able to see how this comes out in terms of theories. But since you're back, you can pick it on.
Yeah. So you have these theories, and there are tons of other theories. But let me give you a tip in research. Depending on the area you are in. So if you are Gaki and she's looking at children with dyslexia, you in the area of behavioral theory or even developmental theory, not from an economic point of view, but from a morphological point of view, the growth. A lot of you are doing aspects of leadership. So there'll be a lot of human environment relations theory, the determinism theory, the transformational theory. Some of you are talking about performance, quality of teaching, cognitive, and other theories. There are many, many theories, but these are just examples. How do you construct a theoretical framework? How do you construct a theoretical framework? There's no one perfect or right theory for a dissertation. Though certain theories are popular. Grant and Onsando was my main reference. The theory must reflect the understanding of the researcher regarding the study and must direct the study. So, colleagues, these things of theories are not just plucked there. I will see it in the way you develop your literature review. I'll see it in the problem statement. I'll see it in your methodology. There is threading in research. The selection of a theoretical framework requires thorough understanding of the problem, purpose, significance, the research questions of the study, etc. Grant and Onsando, 2014. So I want you to note that. The chosen theoretical frame, yes?
Just a quick question. As you, within that topic that you're looking at, the theoretical framework, when you're maybe, for example, you've selected a theory that you're going to use in your study, how do you blend in the theory and the concepts of the study? Because what takes the precedence? Is it the theory or is it the content that you're researching? How much do you blend into for it to flow throughout the study?
Yeah. It's just that we are not in a physical class, but the ceiling in your house, that ceiling up here, is the theoretical framework. Mvua ikianza kunyesha kwa roof huko juu, inaingia, inajaa kwa ceiling, alafu inaanza kutiririka. Those drops that are coming through the ceiling constitute your variables of the study, and they'll form your conceptual framework. But I'm coming to that.
All right, thank you.
So the chosen theoretical framework must accentuate the purpose and importance of the study dissertation. It must have a relationship. Again, Grant and Onsano 2014. Notice I keep repeating these names because it is dictated upon us in our paradigm of research to always amplify, recognize the people who have given you that authority to say that. It's almost God-directed. Consider the guiding principles of the study and situate the problem in relation to the theoretical context. And the research questions of the study must entail must agree with the assertions promulgated by the theories of the selected theory, Maxwell 2004. I hope you are seeing how this thing is tying us. Certain intractables. You have to be in it. There's no way out if you're going to write a strong thesis. The research findings accrued finally from the study may support, extend, or modify an existing theory that was borrowed for the study, Leicester 2005. So after we find our results, we shall see whether they are attuned, whether they are in line, whether they are not with the theory that we used in the study. The researcher may critique, develop, and/or expand the theory that served as a guide of his or her study vis-a-vis the findings gleaned from the study. This is Grant and Onsanlo 2014. So now in DASTA, we have agreed chapter 5, there will be a section of reviewing your theory and assumptions and whether after you've done the study, they still hold or they don't, particularly at PhD level. So you may critique, develop, or expand the theory. Moonhall and Chanel 2008 contend that this should be done at the data analysis stage. Using Grant and Onsanlo 2014 checklist, there's a checklist to identify the suitable theoretical framework for a study. So the first thing is, what discipline will the theory be applied to? Near education? Which discipline? Near psychology? Near leadership? Near business? Near development studies? Which discipline? Does the theory agree with the methodology plan for the study? So, ladies and gentlemen, methodology. Is the theory to be selected well developed with many theoretical constructs? Is it a valid theory? Have specific concepts or theoretical principles been selected to meet the objectives of the study? Intertwined in the whole theoretical framework. I mean, the whole study that you are undertaking. Does the problem of the study, the purpose and importance of the study correlate with the theoretical framework? Can the theory be used hand in hand with the research questions of the study? The literature review, does it? Does the data analysis plan agree with the selected theoretical framework? Does the theoretical framework undergirds the conclusions and recommendations based on the data? Please make a note, we are stopping at slide 31. I don't want to rush through. We are going to go through this, go through conceptual framework, just to make you appreciate when you read in an article the theoretical framework, you begin to ask yourself, how does this relate to my problem statement? How does it relate to my objectives? Can I use it as a foundation for my study? That's what we intend to do tomorrow. We'll continue tomorrow. We are on slide 31. Somebody should remind me that tomorrow. I would like to stop sharing from here. Thank you. All right. Very long days. So tomorrow we will quickly finish the theoretical and conceptual framework, and then go back to the case studies. And we'll move faster. But I really don't want us to move faster for the sake of moving faster. I want people to learn as we go along. Carol, over to you.
Thank you so much, Prof. I think if you have questions, you can probably want to write them down. We'll raise them so that it can also encourage you to come through. And the link remains the same, so it doesn't change. So those who'd like to join the PhD students, the faculty members, and other master's programs from different schools, if you'd like to join us tomorrow, you use the same link. Unless otherwise, probably hear from one PhD student, from our MLD program and another master's program, and probably faculty, and then we end. Dr. Kegode, you can begin. Any comment?
No, I must say this has been a very interactive session, Daktari. And as I had said earlier, it adds to our learning. It adds to our learning. And what I need to note that students must be helped really to sharpen their statement of the problem, to sharpen the objective, as Prof has really insisted throughout the discussion. So we hope from this, we continue to add value on what we are having, so that we can be able to reach our destiny in becoming greater researchers. I think that's all for the evening, Daktari.
Thank you so much. We have a coordinator for PhD program, Dr. Chiongo. You'd want to say a comment before I give it to the students? I'll pick them randomly.
Thank you, Dr. Caro. I want to say that Professor Ayiro has been our gift for Easter. He has really added value to the students and the faculty. And I want to encourage other students to be able to log in, that we may continue tapping wisdom from our professor. Thank you very much, and may God bless you for finding time to sharpen us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chongo. Thank you.
Clinical psychology, let me pick one student. Naz, you're the president of these students. You have a lot of people who followed you in this class.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwaka. I'm not sure I have words that would cover the weight of the wisdom that the professor has given. So I will just use one of the statements that he has given, that our commitment allows us to move to higher levels of freedom. So if we seek freedom, each one of us, from whatever we feel we've been chained to, maybe it's to thicken the chain and tie it even harder, so that then we'll have the freedom to play the piano to a larger crowd, to a larger audience. Thank you, Professor Laban Ayiro.
Thank you.
You have made research to have strings that we can play.
Thank you.
So we
Thank
are
you so
grateful
much.
to sit at your feet. Thank you for making this happen. I have followed you since COVID. So
Yeah,
I'm really grateful to be at your feet.
thank you. Thank you. Nazarene,
Thank you so much. Let me throw it around. Philip, I think that should be business administration, the PhD. Philip? Philip not on. Philip? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Professor, for the section. I'm much humbled for the work you have done, and it has actually opened a broad view on what research entails. And I don't have to say much. We will put this into action and change the way we do things. And I wish you all a happy Easter, and let's meet tomorrow.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you so much for those kind words. Thank you.
We have an MBA, Catherine, MBA student.
Thank you so much, Dr. and thank you, Professor. It has been a very enlightening session. All I can say is we've gained so much confidence. As who are writing and just attending yesterday's class and today's class, the confidence is building up. And thank you so much for empowering us with the knowledge. We are very appreciative of that. Thank you for making time. It's a very enlightening session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Finally, Mogere, this is your class for your students and your colleagues. Mogere is in Kuwait, works in Kuwait, and Mogere, Moseti? Mogere? All right. Mogere is not on, so I'll go to any other person. I'll pick it up with, let me pick Yvonne Gaki. Is Yvonne on? Did I see a name? Sorry, Taslin Otieno. All right, MA students, you're not on. And so finally, Jimmy, Frank, no, let me take Jimmy, yes. Jimmy saying you've been speaking. All right, Taslin, yes.
Is it Taslin?
Taslin, we can't hear you. Okay.
This is Taslin. If I'm audible.
Okay, go ahead.
My reception is a bit poor. I don't know. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you are. Yes, we can hear you.
Dr. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I also just want to thank the professor for this class. We are growing in our own, and yes, I believe that if we continue attending these classes, then we are going to grow stronger and make it to the timely graduation, which is going to make history in Daystar University. So I just want to encourage all of us to continue attending these classes and giving it our best. And within no time, we'll have attained whatever we want, and whatever we'll have also learned will help us outside the world and also make us greater researchers. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much.
so much.
No.
So
Sounds
Frank
good.
Ochami, you can close the word of prayer as we await for Sunday, and we celebrate our Christ for, victory.